Okay, so everybody welcome. I get to have the pleasure of interviewing one of my most amazing friends that's on this planet. So I'm Missy. I'm coming to you live from Spotsylvania, Virginia, and I get to introduce you to Amy Hamilton, who I will say, she and I went to college together. And when my very first day of college, I showed up and I looked around the room and I was there to play field hockey. And there was one girl that stood out to me among all the rest. She looked like a college athlete. And what was even better is on the field, she performed like an elite athlete. It was amazing. I absolutely loved playing with her. I learned so much from her. We both had the same major, so we had a lot of classes together. And she taught me almost everything I know about lacrosse. So I came into college having never seen the game and picked up a stick. And this girl, who is in our Hall of Fame for both field hockey and lacrosse, taught me how to play the sport while I was beside her on the field. So when I say elite athlete, it's not just about running. She played sports through high school, college, started much younger. And I know she got into running a lot later in life. So I'm going to read to you. I have to read this because there's so much information. I'm going to read to you some of the things that she's accomplished in her running days. And she actually picked up running after college, and she has 3 kids. So she was also a busy mom of 3 kids at the same time. It wasn't like she had nothing else to do. So she has run some marathons. She got really serious and qualified for the Boston and the New York City Marathon, which is not an easy accomplishment. And she finished in the top percent for females. In Boston, she ran a 2:57 and was the 100th female out of 27,000 runners, which is huge. And then at New York City, she had a 3:01, so just 4 minutes slower, finished 57th female, 27th of all American females out of 45,000 runners. And when she started trail running in 2017, she's been doing that for 3 years, and she was on top for 20. She's been in the top 20 for those races for females in the country. And then recently, just within the last few months, she was the overall male and female top winner, top time, top finisher in the 100 miler and the 50 miler. And if anybody knows anything about those races, that's all in one day. That's not like in a week and a half or 2 months time. Like, that's all in one day. So that is amazing. I can't say enough amazing things about Amy. And my first question for you, Amy, is how did you get into ultra running?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Obviously, running is something I did pick up, and it's just, it gets me excited to talk to you about it today. It's a passion for me. The trails, I had a bunch of people telling me, you need to try trail running, you would love it. But at the time, I was road racing and really working to shave off time and put out a good marathon. But my health ordeal kind of led me to the trails. And honestly, I feel grateful to God for that, because the trails, they're just healing. Like, I still love to do road races, and I like to be on the road. But the trails, there's just something magical about it. So I started, my first race was with Maria. I actually met Maria there in 2017. It was a 50 miler. And really, I've never looked back. So, I went through a divorce, and it was very healing during that time in my life, because I'm a stay-at-home mom at the time, and obviously had to find work. But, not being with my kids every other weekend, that about crushed me. So I could just go out on the trails and be out there. And so that was also like just a huge bonus for me at the time. But now I love trails. Sometimes I wish, I see things that I wish I could bottle up and show everybody. It's just, the beauty and the nature is magnificent. It's where I do my best thinking. So that's kind of where I am now. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I actually have seen quite a few videos of you, interviews.
Mhm.
just some things. And I was so inspired. I was like, oh, maybe I should start trail running. And then I thought, gosh, a mile kind of makes me want to vomit. So maybe I should not jump into a 50 miler right away. But so I would love, Amy, for you to tell us if you started trail running and you went straight to the top, or if you've had any obstacles along the way that have brought you to where you are today.
Oh goodness. Well, I think I will probably have obstacles in my future. I think the beauty of sport, and I think in anybody's journey, there's always going to be ups and downs. There are hard times, there are struggles, but I think sometimes the consistency and just sticking with the plan can lead you to amazing things. But no, I've definitely had, it took me about, well, a year and a half. I've been working with a coach to figure out my in-race nutrition, because I did not have a clue about that when I first started ultra running, and that's a huge puzzle piece. My nutrition outside of racing, as far as my everyday eating, that's never been a problem for me. But in-race fueling was something I did not have figured out. So obviously, since I've been working on that, that's been a huge puzzle piece and helped me a lot. But no, there's definitely ups and downs. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, I guess, something that might be a little bit more personal, but I know that you were ready to do more marathons, and then you had to put the stop to that. And could you just talk a little bit about what happened and why you had to stop and what you've overcome to get to where you
Yes.
are?
Yes. So between Boston and New York, I had some symptoms, but didn't really, I guess, give them a ton of energy. Didn't think they were anything major. But from about fall of 2013 to spring 2014, I got to a point where I was sidelined. There was weight gain, inflammation, stress reactions, just a lot of weird stuff going on, belly distension. But like I said, I'm a very type A person, and sometimes that can be really bad, good and bad. I was that person. If it was on the calendar, I was going to do it. If a run was planned, I was going to do it. And I always say, I share this with everybody, I have been a person of faith for a long time. But at 38 years old, I learned what true faith is. Really trusting Him, not knowing what the outcome is going to be, because I became so ill. Went to doctor after doctor after doctor. It was really through functional medicine and UVA that I was able to get testing and figure out what was wrong. But I had contracted a parasitic infection, which some people, I guess, know that when you train at these endurance sports, when you get to the peak of your training, your immune system is a little down. So a lot of times people will say when they start to taper, they get little colds or niggles and wiggles, just because it is a fine line. But they think that's probably when I contracted it. My system was weak, and it implanted in my gut. And I obviously, you don't know that. It's something you find through your stool. So a lot of doctors are not going to say, okay, we'll test your stool and your urine. They want to do a blood test or have a simple answer. So that sidelined me. It's the first time I've had to be still. I just walking was difficult. It felt harder than a marathon. It was devastating. It was crushing. Essentially, the parasitic infection caused multiple other issues. So I had candida overgrowth, I had leaky gut, I had joint pain, I wasn't sleeping, my hormones crashed. I mean, I really was a mess. Lost a ton of hair. I mean, just you name it. But it was a humbling experience. I would never say I wish it never happened, because it taught me a lot. It's taught me to, I mean, obviously as an athlete, we listen to our bodies, right? But we're stubborn too. You know, we want to keep going. We want to be our best. But it's really helped me. Obviously, I'm so grateful to be back. I mean, it's crazy to think at 46, I'm way stronger now than I was when I thought I was at my best. So that created a lot of health issues, and it took me just a long time to heal the gut, special diets, you name it. So about 2.5, 3 years, you know, really before I got back to, I would say, my normal running patterns. I fractured a hip in that time. I had a torn labrum, and all that was due to this parasite basically nutrient steals from you. So, you know, calcium, magnesium, those minerals, micronutrients, a lot of those were really low. You know, I was deficient in a lot of things. So, but I'm back, and you know, it's a blessing because I'm able to share so much of this with others. You know, I don't mind to say, you know, when I was training hard for Boston, you know, at the time you don't think about it, but I lost a menstrual cycle for a year and a half. Well, we need our cycles. You know, they're going to be probably more irregular in an athlete, but you should have a cycle. So, you know, I have learned so much moving forward. And I mean, I know we will get into this, but Juice Plus has been a big, huge puzzle piece to help me really flood my body and heal what was so broken.
Absolutely. Well, when you started telling me everything that was going on with your health, it reminded me of Dr. David Phillips when he talks about oxidative stress. And he's a D1 athlete that went to Harvard. He's a doctor, an MD, and he's an Ironman athlete. So he knows all about oxidative stress. And what we do when we exercise is we create just a little bit of a burden on our bodies because we've got oxygenation coming. So it's kind of like when you cut an apple in half, and you know how the air starts to change the color of the apple immediately. Well, the same thing happens in our bodies. And what is the best way to get rid of oxidative stress is antioxidants. So you were telling me about your information, and I really didn't know much about Juice Plus at the time, but I knew enough to know that it helped me tremendously with quite a few things going on in my own health. And I remember asking you, I was like, if I just send it to you, will you try it? And within 3 weeks time, I remember you getting back to me and saying, this is amazing. What is this? How do I keep eating this? This has made a major difference in my life. So my real question to you is, why did Juice Plus make sense to you? What about it made perfect sense to you when I shared?
Obviously the variety of fruits and vegetables. I mean, we know we need that, right? Just normal humans, regardless of athletes or not. But I was on such a restricted diet because my body couldn't break down things. I wasn't supposed to have sugars. So I felt I wanted to heal, but I felt frustrated because I knew my body was not getting the full spectrum of nutrients. So I think what appealed to me is your success. I mean, I'm like, I know Missy, and you know, she used to tease me for eating all those vegetables at college, but you know, I knew that if I could just get that, if I can put that in my body, surely it's going to help. Because you know, I was told you can't. I mean, there was just so much. I was on an autoimmune protocol, and fruits and vegetables were not something I could eat. My system was not breaking that down. So it was hugely helpful. It made sense to me in that perspective.
Absolutely. So what I remember telling you is, I know that it's whole food nutrients. So it's fruits, veggies, and berries, and they take away the moisture through a dehydration process, scrape away the sugars. So what's left is pure nutrients, and they put it in capsule or chewable form. And at the time, I didn't even know what a micronutrient was. I didn't know it was vitamins, minerals, flavonoids, and antioxidants. I had no clue. I just knew it was super helpful, and it could really be something that I was hoping would be helpful to you. And so I'm just curious, how do you use the micronutrients, or, you know, the fruit, veggie, and berry blend of Juice Plus?
Well, I take all six of those first thing in the morning with a glass of water. I know some people like to break it up, but I mean, I don't miss it. As far as how I use it in my training, when I get up in heavy mileage or when I'm peaking for a race, usually 2 weeks out from an event, I will double my Juice Plus. And then the week after, or the recovery time, sometimes it's longer than a week, I will also double that. But I take it every day.
Yeah.
I think something too that I really would like to share. It's hard, Sometimes people look at the price tag and they think, oh, but man, I think you can't put a price on health. And I always share. I think people probably don't realize that, but I haven't taken a multivitamin in probably 12 years. If you look at our label, it's a nutrition label. Vitamins our body does not process them the same way that our body looks at food. And I think that's the most valuable thing that I would want people to see is that your body it needs these to function. And just swallowing a multivitamin, you don't get the benefits of all that. I think too how all of the micronutrients work in conjunction together. So I think that's something so important. It's the biggest thing that I've seen, as far as like on paper. I've been doing inside tracker blood draws for the past, I guess, year and a half. So every 3 months, sometimes we do it around races, really just to see where your levels are, because people probably don't realize, even if you've got minerals or micronutrients that are too high or too low, all those things can throw off your performance. And every time, mine is drawn, they're always spot on. They're in the zone that they're supposed to be in. And that speaks volumes to Juice Plus.
Absolutely. I love that. That's amazing. And the one way I've heard it described by doctors is, we'll pick on calcium for a minute, is if you want extra calcium, you need all its buddies that go along with calcium to break it down so your body can use it and absorb it and turn it into fuel and propel your body forward. So we can get into this topic a whole lot deeper, but I want to keep asking the rest of my questions. And if you have questions after this, make sure that you ask Amy or I, because we can answer all the questions. But that was micronutrients. I know macronutrients are a hot topic right now. And I know we have our shakes, we have the complete shakes, we have our complete bars, and we have our perform shakes, which they actually created those for athletes. So I would love for you to just talk a little bit about macronutrients, what they are, how you use them in your training, what it does for you.
Oh, macronutrients. Oh, it is the hot topic. So, that's your fats, your proteins, and your carbs. The biggest thing is, I think you have to really learn and be creative and see what works for you. But as an athlete, have to have that protein every meal, have to have those healthy fats every meal, and you have to have carbs every meal. That ratio might look different. I think when people do have an autoimmune issue or they are struggling with, a health issue, sometimes a restricted diet or a special diet can be good for the healing process, but I don't think it's something that you can stay in forever. We have keto diets out there. We have all these buzzwords, and those have their place. I had to do that for a little bit, but your body can't do it forever. Women, the biggest thing, the big thing was low fat. That's something I fell into. I thought I needed to cut it. Well, for our hormones to stay healthy and our brain health, we have to have good fats. You can't be afraid of it. So, our bars and our shakes, I think they're balanced perfectly with the macronutrients. I use those for extras. So usually food is really my go-to for my meals, but I love those to fill in gaps on days that I'm busy or I have extra training. But that's the biggest important thing for everybody to know. Carbs are not scary. People use them differently, but you need them.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine not having them. I use my shakes and my bars all the time. Both my boys do every single day. My husband, it's just part of our lives. And I'm so thankful for them. And they're
Mhm.
delicious and they're nutritious. And like you said, they are completely balanced really well. Now I know you have a tower garden and I know you love to grow your own produce. So I
Yeah.
would love to know, do you ever use that produce to put into your smoothies, or how do you use your tower garden to make sure that you have what you need as fuel for your body to race?
Oh, well, I love, you know me, I love, there's not a vegetable I don't like, there's not a fruit I don't like. That's a good thing. I'm not a picky eater. But yes, I mean, obviously for me, I think anything that grows, that we can grow, that's is natural to its original form, that's huge for me. I always say fruits, vegetables. I've found that I do still need good sources of red meat, fish. I mean, you need it all as an athlete, but obviously, yeah, as many fresh vegetables and fruits that we can eat, that's huge. That's a huge part of my diet for sure.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
agree. I agree completely. So, this next question, I feel like you and I have discussed this before, but do you
Mhm.
think you could compete at the same level and perform and win race after race at the same level if you didn't have Juice Plus in your body?
I do not think so. I think it's that assurance every day, you know, because there are days that we travel. There's times when we get sick. My kids usually double up on it when they have colds or, you know, but when you're in bed and you're sick for a day, if I take my Juice Plus, it's insurance every day to make sure that my body is flooded with those nutrients.
Absolutely. I've always found we get healthy much quicker. We don't get sick as
Yes.
often and we get healthy much quicker when we eat our Juice Plus. So I agree with you. And I definitely double up if I feel a sniffle coming on or anything
Yeah.
like that. My kids will
Yeah.
pretend cough so they can have extra because they love it. So I
Mhm.
totally get it. So the next thing I would love to know is I know that you've been learning more and more about Juice Plus because you've loved what it's done for your body. You kind of talked about this, but does Juice Plus protect your health?
Absolutely. And I always share this too with about my kids. Obviously, my kids take it, and we've been eating it for, gosh, I guess over 6 years now. Um, you know, my girls, I mean, it's funny. They haven't been on the antibiotic in 5 years, over 5 years, I know, and really haven't been to the doctor for sickness. You know, typically it's something that we can manage at home. I think that's huge because you know they're in public school, they're active kids. I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen over time is just their immunity. Same thing with me. I mean, I just don't get sick. And that is a huge blessing because I'm sure everybody listening knows, you know, obviously multiple antibiotics over time that wears away your gut health. You know, our gut, I feel like, you know, that is the core of our health. It's if we're not nutritionally fit, it's really hard to be physically fit. So there has to be balance in your gut. And like the parasitic infection, I had to go on a 21-day antibiotic regimen. And, you know, it took a long time to build back. So that's huge. If we can keep, you know, obviously sometimes you have to take an antibiotic, that it's necessary, but there's a lot of people that they're living month to month at the doctor. So I think about that is to me, that's the biggest treasure. My kids are my treasure. And our health, if I can, if that's why I love to share it with everybody, because to see them be so healthy and thriving, obviously it's been a huge blessing to me in my training. I don't feel like I would be able to do what I'm doing. So that is why I love to share Juice Plus with everybody.
I love it. I love it. And one thing that encouraged us to even try Juice Plus in the first place was as an adult, I could sponsor my child for free. And I think it's huge when our kids can get all those nutrients in their bodies every day for free for 4 years. That was
Yeah.
amazing. My kids went from being those kids at the doctors every 2 to 4 weeks to we haven't been in 5 years either. And so
Mhm.
that's huge to me. I feel like that's better health insurance than the health insurance I pay for. So
Yeah.
that is huge to me. And you actually answered a couple of my questions, but I was curious, do you feel like Juice Plus has helped you reduce injury?
Absolutely. Obviously in trail running, Maria could attest. Sometimes you trip over a rock. I mean, there's more chances to have injuries like that. But as far as like just nagging, like overtraining injuries, don't really get those. And it's really funny because I think people think, oh, as you get older, it's going to get worse, right? You're going to have more of this. But I really think nutrition is at the heartbeat of that.
Yes. So I will go back to our days in college. I don't know if you remember when we would have those days right after we'd start 2-a-days and we'd be so super sore. And
Yes.
we just wanted to get past all that lactic acid buildup and we just wanted our recovery to be so much quicker. I know I've noticed it, but do you feel like your recovery is so much quicker since you've added Juice Plus?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, just coming off a 50 miler, I had a 65-mile week last week and back to regular speed work. I mean, absolutely. I feel like I do recover much faster, and that's always good, right? We want to get back in the game.
Absolutely. You don't want to run a race and then be sidelined for months at a time, and then you have to start everything all over again. So that's huge to feel like you can go from a 50 miler that you not just won, but had the best time in the United States for the whole year. Men and women. Did I mention that earlier? And then you get right back to your training. I mean, 65 miles in 1 month is unbelievable to me. That blows my mind. I mean in 1 week. I said 1 month, but 65 miles in 1 week. I can't do 65 miles in a month or a year probably. So that's why I think that's why it blows my mind. I can't really talk about it. Do you feel like Juice Plus has helped you to improve your performance, your speed, your endurance?
I mean, I think because when your nutrition's on point, when you're healthy, that allows you to push harder, to train harder, to go maybe even push beyond the limits you think you can. I mean, I think that is why we can do that. So absolutely, I think when you're healthy and you're in balance that way nutritionally, that's what allows us to perform. So absolutely.
That's amazing. I love it. So you did talk a little bit about why it's important to you and your family, and
Mhm.
you touched base on that you love sharing it with other people, and that's one of the reasons why we did this call. So I'm so thankful for every single person that got on this call. Do you have anything? I mean, I know you love sharing Juice Plus with people. Are there any goals that you have? Is there anything that you see for yourself in the future with your Juice Plus business?
Well, I would definitely love to grow my team. I think sometimes it is hard because I hate to look at it like a business. I mean, we've talked about that. I think it's really a relationship process, but it is hard because people see price tags, people see cost. But like I said, I don't think we can put a cost on our health. But I would love to grow it. I would love to bring on more team members. Originally when you first introduced it to me, I said, well, maybe I'll share it with a few just to cover, the cost for my family. But then as I really started to learn more about it and see how it was benefiting us, I couldn't wait to grow my team and share. So I think for me as a mama, I want to be a mom first. And so Juice Plus has allowed me to have a consistent income. I can go on vacation and still get paid, and I can be home with my kids and have time flexibility because Juice Plus is a huge part of my income, and it allows me to do something I love. I think the hardest thing is just allowing people to see how much it can help them, how much it can improve them. Because we spend money on a lot of things, and I know sometimes that can be overwhelming. So that is the beauty just sharing today, I think people can see that there is value to this. Obviously, we recommend good movies, we recommend, clothes and things like that, but like, I'd rather have my juice plus. I mean, I think sometimes I wish I could show that to people, the importance. And more than anything, what I want people to know is, I'm just a normal woman, who has struggles, who has life, who has difficulty. Um, but I have a passion for training and running, and I have a passion for people, and I have a passion for seeing people do things they thought they could never do. But Juice Plus is a huge part of how I'm able to perform, and that's the message that I wanted to send. There's nothing magical about me. I feel grateful for all the success I've had, and I want to see other people be able to do that too.
Absolutely. I feel like that's my passion and my purpose too, is to just love on other people and educate them and let them know about Juice Plus and what it can do for them, not just for their health, but like you were saying, the flexibility to be with your kids all the time and have that steady income. I don't know where my family would be without Juice Plus, and I'm so incredibly thankful that you were open enough to hear and listen when I shared it with you, because I know I would still be praying for you regardless, but I prayed for you diligently to heal and feel better and get back to the normal peppy Amy that we all know and love. And you were really struggling, and I'm just so thankful that this was one thing that really benefited you greatly and helped you to just become this warrior that you are, this trail warrior that is just simply amazing. So I probably could ask you about 300 other questions, but what I'd love to do is I would love to tell everybody I'm so thankful that you jumped on here. If you have questions, we're gonna stop recording here in a second. You can ask questions. I also want to let you know that if you do want to know more about Juice Plus, if you want to get started, Amy is more than happy to help you. I am more than happy to help as well. Wendy's on here. I call her my expert because she has been sharing for a really long time, and she has helped me tremendously in so many ways. So I'm gonna stop
Um,
recording. Hold on one second.